thank you everyone for coming to this month's LeanLaw webinar. We're a bit of a transition from the Masterclass to this format here, a bit of a podcast style, and still not sure on the name. So if anyone has suggestions, feel free to leave them in the chat or contact myself or anyone on the team. Absolutely looking for suggestions there. So pretty sure everyone here knows who I am, but just in case there's any new faces, my name is Chase Sullivan, and I'm the Director of Customer Success here at LeanLaw. Been with the company for far too long, doing all the things from marketing to support and now success at large. So been doing this thing a little bit. And I'm joined today by Alicia Wood, who is a firm administrator controller at Burkhalter Law based out of Atlanta.
Yes.
Fantastic. Alicia, what is it that you would say you do there at Burkhalter?
So my position, I oversee all of the processes and procedures for the firm, as well as the accounting, and work closely with our firm's owner, Brian Burkhalter, in making those decisions, and work with my team to determine the best solutions for what our needs are, and kind of improving the firm as we go, and increasing our technology and kind of finding ways to work better. As a firm, we're essentially, our goal is to become general counsel for our business owner clients, and to assist them with litigation, corporate and estate planning, asset protection matters. So we really hone in on business owners and really trying to be a full service firm for them for their legal needs.
Awesome. So that's great perspective to have on the firm. That helps inform some of the conversation we'll probably have in a bit. And it sounds like in the firm, you're the person with their head above the trees trying to figure out where to go and stop running into things, right?
Yes.
Awesome. And that's a big task for a law firm. I mean, you're working with a lot of people who really don't like change, and you're the person at the end fighting the good fight of like, hey, we gotta do this, we gotta change things. And I think that's a really interesting position, and part of the reason you're here. So Alicia has been with LeanLaw for almost over 3 years at this point. And the firm has seen some pretty awesome changes in improvements over those 3 years, a lot of them through process and by the work that Alicia has contributed, which is fantastic. And I wanted to share some of those stories with everyone here, and have a conversation about what that was like for you, Alicia, and some of the difficulties and struggles, but also some of the successes you found in all of that. So one of the areas of focus you mentioned was construction, which in my understanding, construction or law are actually like two of the most laggard in terms of technology and innovation, not from a technology standpoint, but like resistant to change. And so you're working in law and you're working with construction. What's that like, working with people who are so resistant to change?
Well, I would say it's challenging, but in a way it's good, because it gets the conversation going of how can we improve what's needed. And it helps me come up with really good reasons why we should consider change. And there are so many applications and processes that as firm leaders that we can put in place to really set our teams up for success. And while there may be a learning curve or some time investment in understanding that on the onset, I think that we're overall in the end in a better position and can continue to collaborate and kind of drive the movement forward. And continue to improve on what we have in place currently, and look towards growth and what that looks like.
Right. That's a great mentality. So our bread and butter, yours and mine both, are law firm operations and billing especially. What kind of changes have you made or been able to actually, maybe let's back that up. What were some of the initial pain points or frustrations with the way that the firm was operating or billing originally?
So with our billing, our firm specifically was with Tabs 3, and we had used that for many years. Essentially, everyone within the firm was comfortable with it, had used it, and you kind of knew what they were getting into with the issues that they had with the application. And in 2020, our firm split split off into Burkhalter Law. And I took that as an opportunity. This is actually during COVID, and or the beginning of COVID. And I took that as an opportunity to just kind of reevaluate the systems that we had in place, and how can we make this as efficient as possible? How can we make things easier for our attorneys? Timekeeping is historically not the most glamorous part of being an attorney.
What? I thought that's where everyone got into law, was time entry. Oh, no.
Surprisingly not. So I wanted to find a way to make that easier for our attorneys, to make it less of a pain point for them, and to also make sure that that our needs as a business were being met for the information we need to pull from it.
Right.
So that kind of led me down the path of reconsidering software options. Obviously, during the early stages of COVID, something that is an internet-based application obviously stood out for me. But I wanted to really make sure that this was going to be an application that we could get started in immediately, but that would grow with us. That we wouldn't be we wouldn't reach a point where, okay, we're at a certain level and, now we're going to have to reevaluate all of our options. So that was really important to me, an application that we could grow with. And that is certainly our goal here at Burkhalter Law. And so that was important to me. I went through, I would say, probably about 10 different software applications and vetted those. I signed up for free trials. I met with sales representatives. I read reviews that were, separate from the websites of those vendors. Just did a ton of research, and LeanLaw just stood out to me on every level. It was very user-friendly for our attorneys who, they're not IT experts. We want to have something that's easy to use, and that's obviously accessible through the internet-based application, but also from a QuickBooks standpoint. So we use QuickBooks Online, and when we were with Tabs 3, we didn't have that integration. So there was a lot of duplication happening, which in turn creates an opportunity for errors and the necessity to go back once you're finished and double check that everything lines up. And LeanLaw eliminated that for us.
So obviously the tool plays a big part in that. And you had it sounds like part of the recipe for success there was identifying and translating and really updating some of the processes that you had as a law firm that led to future success. And even within using LeanLaw or any other tool, there's opportunities to identify those moments and to make change.
Sure.
We could talk about LeanLaw all day, but I'm kind of curious, what was your process for introducing that to the individual attorneys? I mean, they're going to have a vested interest in this, and getting them to change not just softwares, but like any kind of process. How do you motivate them? Or do you have another example of a process or something you wanted to change where you involved them as part of that and found success?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not constantly changing, but always looking for opportunity to improve. And most of that is through technology. So we've, transitioned from LawPay to Gravity. We've made other changes along the way, and those don't necessarily impact the attorneys on a day-to-day basis, but it does impact them in a meaningful way when clients are paying promptly. That impacts their paychecks, and the firm's cash flow. So,
and that impacts you too, because that's, you're in charge of the operations of the firm. Payments is a big deal for you, like making sure people get paid on time, and obviously not wanting to spend time chasing clients. We had talked a little bit earlier, before this, about you were talking about the engagement letter, the engagement process you had with clients, and how you had changed that. And I'm not super familiar with that process. Maybe some others in the audience are, but it sounded like you had you had identified there was an opportunity there to save time for the firm and at large, but also the individual attorneys. And I think you'd said you actually don't even enter clients into LeanLaw or any other tools until they've gone through this engagement process.
Right. So when we get previously, we would receive a new client, we would get all of their information, and we would compile an engagement letter or prepare an engagement letter. And there was a lot of back and forth with the attorneys, with bits and pieces of information that we needed that they may or may not have included. So one of the changes I implemented using technology is through it was actually a Microsoft, just a custom form. And we created a conflict check, which is essential for any new client. We always want to confirm that that the representation we're providing does not conflict with any other cases that we're handling. So very important from a legal perspective. And so we always clear those through a conflict check. And that was just a custom form that I set up that is essentially on, everyone in the firm has access to it. And they just go in, fill in the form. Everything's clearly stated as to what required fields are needed. That gets pushed through and goes out to everyone in the firm immediately. Then myself and or my team would go through and clear that conflict check to make sure that we don't have any conflicting interests there. And then the attorney, once that's received and cleared, they go into a similar form as the conflict check, just with different information requested for an engagement request. So the engagement letter is critical because it's essentially our contract with our client. It defines the terms of what we're going to provide and how we're going to do that from a fee structure standpoint, from a cost standpoint. And that's a requirement that our firm has: the conflict check, the engagement letter, and the paid retainer before any work can begin. So as a general rule for our firm, we do not set up any clients into our system until all of those items are checked off and completed. And that's to ensure that work doesn't begin before we're ready to engage.
Did you get a lot of pushback from the attorneys when you made that switch? I mean, that's more work for them up front.
Right. No, actually, I didn't. I don't feel like I got any pushback, really. I think they were able to see the value in not having to go back and answer 4 emails throughout the day. If they go in and fill out this form at 9 o'clock in the morning, well, we can very quickly get out the engagement letter and the next steps and kind of push that forward. Versus, if we have to email back and forth all day long asking for more information.
Yeah,
so
it takes a lot of time.
Yes. So we're able to get clients engaged in the door faster through this technology and through this process that we've created and kind of honed in on. And it's certainly something that's, it's easy to change and easy to edit as we need to go through. So I would say that's been one of the more helpful tools that we've implemented.
Interesting. And obviously clients are a part of that too. I mean, you're handling their information.
Yes.
Have you heard from clients on whether they liked that? Has it been a positive experience for them to do that?
Yeah, so we submit everything through DocuSign for them to review and sign, and then include the Gravity link for them to submit the retainer. And the clients seem to really appreciate that because typically, again, our clients are business owners, generally speaking. And so it's important for them to, have the accessibility. They can sign from their computer, they can sign from their phone, just making it easy for them. And removing those barriers really creates a better user experience, and then more of a seamless workflow from the law firm operations side.
Right. Yeah, you've got it all packaged into one. Like you've done that on the invoice itself. You've done that in the initial engagement. It's like, hey, let's get it all out there first, and it puts everyone at an equal playing field. It sounds like with expectations, right? The attorneys with the clients, with you. You know what you're getting as a result of all of this coming in. You'd mentioned Gravity Legal, and I'm kind of curious what your experience has been like there with moving to. Well, so let me back that up. Were you on an electronic payments platform earlier?
So previously we were users of LawPay,
Okay.
which did not, of course, connect with our QuickBooks or with LeanLaw.
Right. Had
So
you been physical payment before that? Because you said you work with construction and a lot of businesses, and I
Mhm.
understand that some of those might still be using checks.
Yes. So we definitely still receive checks from some business owners, which is kind of a concern for us and for them from a just from a standpoint of keeping their information
Mhm.
secure.
Right,
So
because
that was
you're putting like banking information on a piece of paper in the mail. Like
right.
to me, that seems preposterous. Like that's crazy. Why would you do that? That's a huge security risk, but that's just normal business operations for a lot of people.
Right. Yes. Checks are definitely still, being used, and Gravity really stuck out to me as, the next step and further kind of improving on our technology stack,
Mhm.
because we were really able to, provide a secure link to our clients to enter their information. We don't have access to it. It's protected. And we were able to, from our standpoint, we're able to receive payments in a much more prompt fashion and
Sure.
secure,
Right.
which is great for both sides.
Right. And that's important for you from a time perspective too. I can imagine obviously there's a ton of processing and handling time with checks.
Mhm.
So that's a great win, but also that immediacy helps you to not have to be engaged with payments all the time. I understand there's a lot of people in similar positions to you, at least in terms of like title and responsibilities, that spend a lot of time chasing down clients to get payment and then communicating that back out to the attorneys or the partners in the firm about
Mhm.
where we're at with payments, because that's really important to business operations, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So we've really been able to kind of continue on the evolution of how can we make payments easier for our clients and better for us.
Mhm.
As you mentioned, if we receive a check, we have to spend time, you know, entering that check in and submitting it to the bank through our check scanner, and ensuring that deposit goes through. Whereas when the clients can pay with Gravity, it goes automatically to their account. It populates into QuickBooks and into our bank account when those funds clear. And it's really just improved our process and allowed us to really, coupled with LeanLaw's, you know, billing abilities, has really allowed us to save time on those fronts, on billing and collections, and therefore we can refocus that effort into other areas of the firm where we have needs for improvement or support.
Mhm.
And so it's created a lot of positive things for us.
Right. Yeah, and I can imagine that there's also opportunity for improving the client experience with that too. Uh,
Yes.
Something I hear a lot about is, or one of the things that we talk about at least, is communicating the value on an invoice. Like
Mhm.
in a lot of other situations, you get an invoice afterwards, but you were present. So I go to the doctor, I get a checkup. I know pretty well what I'm paying for when that invoice shows up in a week. I was
Right.
there, right? I received a
Yep.
service. That makes sense. But a lot of law happens behind the scenes without the client's direct involvement. And I can imagine as a client receiving an invoice for law or for legal work, uh, I'm not going to know what I'm paying for here. And
Sure.
I can imagine that would be a major pain point or issue for you.
Yes. And so that's why we really rely on communication with our attorneys and our clients. So we have, kind of a general procedure where we like for the attorneys that are kind of taking the lead on cases to reach out to the clients, obviously throughout, as there may be decisions to be made in their case, or the case may be changing course, whatever that may look like. Obviously, our goal is to always have communication, but specifically that week prior to invoices going out. So our firm invoices on the 1st for all
Mhm.
prior month work. So before the 1st, ideally, our attorneys have touched all of our clients and kind of let them know where things stand. Hey, this month we completed this task, and next month we'll be preparing for trial, so that's going to be a larger invoice, not necessarily telling them how many hours we're going to spend, what that dollar amount's going to look like, because sometimes we don't know that. But just kind of giving them the comfort of knowing what we've done, what we're doing now, and what's ahead. And kind of preparing them in the best way that we can, so that when they do get the invoice, they don't have the feeling of, I haven't heard from my attorney in 3 weeks. I have no idea what's going on. How do I have a $10,000 invoice?
Yeah. They're left wondering exactly like you said, what am I paying for here? What got done? Well, the case hasn't been resolved yet. So what's going on?
Yeah. So we rely on, our attorneys communicating with our clients. But again, just a good procedural opportunity to connect with the client and make them feel like we're doing the legal work, but we're also bringing you along with us and making sure that you understand, not only what the legal side looks like, but what financial impact that's having for your business.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, if you're working with businesses, that's what they care about, is business operations and impact on them in a different way that individuals would. But so you're saving time with process, with changes and improvements. What do you do with all your free time? Are you down at the beach sipping mojitos, or
my goodness,
you're looking for, improvements and changes and things, and you've got this time, and now that it seems like, billing operations are moving along smoothly.
Yes.
What's next? Where are you thinking you can find improvements?
Sure. So, I think that within different divisions of the firm, we've continued to find opportunities to kind of streamline those areas. So for instance, we have, we set up corporate entities. So similar to those forms that I'd mentioned previously about the conflict check and engagement letter, we have some similar forms for corporate formations.
Right.
And so it's an opportunity to really gather all that information that's required from the states to submit those formations effectively and quickly. And so we're able to kind of streamline those. So looking into different teams and seeing how can we make things more cohesive and create a better workflow. One of the things that, that I would like to spend more time doing is some of the analysis for the business and what that looks like in areas of opportunity to improve there. As well as, different vendors and so forth. How can we reduce expenses and looking at those items, contracts and so forth.
I'm curious what business analysts what that looks like. I mean, that's totally outside the realm of what I'm comfortable with and what I know, but to me that sounds super interesting that you've gotten to the point where you can do that, and now that's what you're able to spend your time throughout the day doing and looking into. I mean, I think that that's super valuable for the company, obviously, but then that also helps you and the rest of the firm stay on their A game with updated technologies, with looking for ways to improve. You'd mentioned at the beginning using technology to do that, which is great. Some easy wins there, but also some of the harder work and conversations around process.
Well, and also implementation, of vetting all of these. Are you, considering all of the things that could go well and that could go wrong, and really, feeling like you've, vetted this out to the point where you're willing to make a change for the entire company. So as firm administrators, we're a part of critical decisions, not only for our teams, but the company as a whole. So it's really important to have a grasp on, what opportunities exist and how you can leverage technology to improve, your firm and for the staff and the clients.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Do you have any, I mean, this is all well and good for the firm, good for you, good for the firm, good for the partners. Is it good for clients?
Absolutely. I think it's for some clients, they may have never worked with an attorney. The idea of working with an attorney can be a little daunting. So we try to make them feel as comfortable as possible through explaining the process, giving them the engagement letter so they can kind of understand how things work. And again, to refer back to communication, throughout the process of their case or cases, our firm takes the standpoint of, we want to be there with our business owners from the beginning to the end of the business cycle. And so we want to create more of a long lasting relationship with them. Our firm specifically is referral based. So when we have,
so your client relations, like that trust that is how you get into business. Like that is the most important thing for you to be, well, I guess maybe not the most, but definitely a critical part of the success of the company.
Absolutely. So we rely on those, organic introductions or referrals from our other clients or advisors. So it's really, we're trying to create the best experience and the best outcomes for our client, to make sure that, that they refer others onto us. So making sure that they have a streamlined way of, making things easy, making it easy to engage with us, to get that contract underway, making it easy to understand what we're doing, by getting that communication from the attorneys. Also receiving an electronic invoice versus something mailed, presumably more secure through an email. They also get it faster. And then through Gravity, we were able to provide, quick pay links, that again connect to our QuickBooks and our LeanLaw, so that there's less to do on the back end accounting side.
Right.
So
and
those are really,
that
really
frees up a lot of time for you. Sorry, it frees up a lot of time for you to start investigating, like you were talking about, investigating and looking into not just opportunities for the firm, but also I feel opportunities to connect with clients more. That a big thing in my world in customer success and support is we want to emphasize the human interactions, right? How can we have more empathetic interactions with people? Obviously, we're working with the same wonderful group of people day in and day out, and the relationship matters a lot. And the more time you save yourself on the front end of, on the front end of that, on the back end of that, you saved yourself time previously, and now you have more time to focus on those core interactions that mean a lot to, maybe not mean a lot to your bottom line, but like mean a lot to your clients, which I guess then benefits you.
In the long run, absolutely. It certainly benefits us. So yeah, and I was recently speaking with a client who, last week I was reaching out about some open AR, and this particular,
who doesn't love chasing ARR? I mean, open accounts, that is just such a great use of time.
Yes, it's the, as we said earlier, attorneys, the best part of their favorite part of the job is entering time. As accounting and firm administrators, our favorite time is collecting funds. So I had reached out to a client, and just, they had a couple of open invoices. And so I called and I said, hey, I just wanted to check in. And he went on to tell me, my goodness, I'm so sorry. We have these open invoices. Unfortunately, I just had to let our accounting manager go because we discovered that she was not entering invoices in for payment and not submitting payment on those. So I just have a bit of a mess here. I'm not sure what to do. I'm filtering through it all, and we're trying to figure it out and who we owe what.
Right.
And so I kind of took that as an opportunity to help the client in a different way. Obviously, this wasn't legal assistance, nor was it a recruiting call. The way I could add value for that client specifically was, I said, you know what? I'm so sorry you're going through this. I know that must be really difficult. Let me help you. If you see anything with our name on it, just toss it. And what I'm going to do is send you an email. So I went into LeanLaw. I, looked at the view of all of their unpaid invoices, which was just, again, 2 or 3. So I clicked those, created a statement with the detailed invoices behind. And I said, let me send this email to you. I'll include the payment link when you're ready. But you'll have the statement showing all the list of invoices and the breakdown. You'll also have the detailed invoices there for you. And that way you can just open this one email and you have everything you need. And he was very thankful and appreciative. And within minutes, we had payment from that client. And so
Wow.
it's very meaningful. How can we help clients in situations that are, not everyday situations, but
Right.
how can we add value in a different way? We were able to connect on a different level. I'm sorry you're going through this, as a business owner. I mean, we're a business too. We experience some of the same pain points in different ways. And so we were really able to help him just again in a different way, unexpected.
Right. Yeah. So you managed to turn the dreaded collection call, dreaded for you, and I'm sure for the client,
Yes.
into actually positive outcome for both. And there was, like you said, there's a value add experience there. That client, you have advanced the relationship there. And obviously you both have an interest in continuing to have a relationship, assuming it works out.
Right.
And on top of that, you got paid almost immediately.
Yes.
Like that makes
Yes.
everybody happy.
Well, and again, you just have to make it easy for, you have to make things easy for the attorneys, the staff, and the clients. When you can streamline things and make them, plug and play for everyone, it really benefits everyone in the end.
Right. Yeah. And that comes from those time savings in the beginning to allow you as the firm administrator to figure those things out. Right. You're able to spend time instead of, your head in the mess all the time, putting out fires. You're able to take a step back and say, oh, hey, if we shore up this or we do this, it puts us in a better position long term, which makes everybody happier for sure.
Of course.
Cool. So we're just about at time. If anybody has any questions or comments for myself or Alicia, great time to share those now. And we'll go ahead and get wrapped up. Alicia, was there anything else that any other changes or things that you're proud of in moving and shaking in the firm? Because that's a big deal to get a firm, turned around and moving in a new direction, playing a new tune.
Right. Absolutely. I think for me, again, I always feel like there are things that we can improve on and get better. I just feel like the billing side of this has been really remarkable for us, coming from, a position of, okay, we have to be in the office to enter our time in tabs 3. So if you're out sick or whatever the case may be, it was really creating barriers for us, and, manually printing out invoices and having them marked up. And so there have just been some great opportunities with LeanLaw to really, again, leverage technology and use that in a way that benefits us and our clients. If we can get our invoices turned around to our clients in, 5 days or less, then we're in a much better position for cash flow, but also, giving our clients, the details of what's happened a month ago.
Right.
Also for payroll considerations, as we're going through, billing, we have to meet certain deadlines so that we can, calculate paychecks and so forth. So we're really under, billing is a critical part, obviously, of what we do, but there are a lot of time constraints around it. And I think it's really important to understand that and appreciate it, so that you can understand what needs to happen to finish the drill. But yeah, so overall, I just feel like it's the biggest success for me is being able to use LeanLaw in a way that eliminates that duplication that we were had previously. Also, automating all those processes has just been a game changer for us.
Yeah. And to me, on top of that, what stands out is the communication that you kept emphasizing on with clients, like the monthly check-ins. That's awesome. That's the first time I've ever heard of that, actually. And to me, that makes a lot of sense to have that check-in or touch point before invoices get sent out, and keeping everyone up to speed on what expectations are, setting those expectations in the engagement letter and interaction, right? That sets you, the attorney, the client, everyone up for success. And then to come out, those time savings at the end and have time for you, or I'm sure other people in the firm, to focus on communication. That's a lot of what business and relationship is communication. And the more time you can spend on that, the better you are. So, well, cool. I'm super thrilled with this. I definitely feel like I came away with some interesting insights on
Okay,
running a
great.
successful law firm. Heaven forbid I ever decide to start one.
I'm sure Gary would love to be a part of it.
Yeah, if I could coax him back into law, maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
He's been out of the game for a little while, but I'm sure he could get right back into it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chase, for the opportunity to join. I really enjoyed
Absolutely.
it, and hope this was insightful for other fellow firm administrators and consultants that are in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could go out and be a firm administrator right now.
Oh, perfect.
So, and likewise,
That was the
Alicia.
goal.
Yeah, well, that's right. That was the secret intention here, was to get Chase up to speed on how to be a kick-ass firm administrator. I appreciate you taking the time, Alicia. It's been super rewarding for me and fantastic. And thank you to everyone joining. Always good to see all of you and to get to engage with you all. So we'll go ahead and get wrapped up for today, but we will see you next time.
Thanks, Chase.
Bye.
Bye.